What is up? It's time finally for my review of Arkham Knight on the PS4. This game took me about 60 hours to platinum, which includes beating the game twice, which in my opinion is a pretty good amount of time to platinum a game. It has lots of content in it to keep you busy and prevent you from getting bored. And there's a decent variety of gameplay elements to keep things feeling fresh and not monotonous like other games sometimes do. For example, like the other Arkham games, you have the combat system, which can be full-on fighting with groups of enemies, or you can pick them off one by one in the shadows. Nothing really new there, but that's an element that Rocksteady got right from the start, so it's no wonder they use it in every game. Everything gameplay-wise is basically the same, or at least very similar to the previous Arkham games, and to me that is a good thing. The gameplay is basically what makes this series so great in the first place. The thing that makes Arkham Knight stand out is the Batmobile, which adds several new gameplay mechanics, which include car chases, tank battles, remote control use, enemy takedowns, and more. You know, there's even several Riddler challenges that require the Batmobile to solve, some of them in the form of death trap races, and others in the form of just standard tricky puzzles. I felt like the integration of the Batmobile was nice and refreshing to the series, and without it, I feel like Arkham Knight could have just felt very bland and just like the same old shit as before. So the Batmobile gave it that extra bit of spice that it needed to be unique and fresh. And I felt that there was a nice balance of use with the Batmobile, because I saw some complaints early on in the reviews, people saying that there was way too much involvement with it, and I just didn't feel that way at all. I'd say that there was a pretty good ratio between using Batman and using the Batmobile, and it was probably like 70-30 in favor of Batman. Like, I felt like I was using Batman the majority of the time playing through the game, but I felt like there was a great balance between Batman and the Batmobile. So why people complained about that, I'm not quite sure, especially after 3 previous installments without a Batmobile at all. I feel like that's a pretty silly complaint. Graphically, the game is great. I take nothing away from it graphically, but it is not really that impressive. I've pretty much become desensitized to current gen graphics after playing games like The Order 1886 and Infamous Second Son. I mean, it just takes more to impress me as far as visuals go, so yeah, it looks good, but it's not like a bar setter or anything like that. I didn't notice any frame rate issues during frantic fight sequences or anything like that. So the game felt pretty smooth. Even at 30 frames per second, it felt and played nice and smooth. Talking about the story a little bit, I don't want to get into it too much because of potential spoilers, but I will say that I did enjoy it quite thoroughly. All of the characters had their roles and everything gelled together very well. I thought the ending of the game was pretty awesome. I mean, when the credits start rolling, I started clapping. I just thought it was great. I enjoyed it really a lot. I enjoyed it. Great story to this game. So with all that said though, let's talk a little bit about the things that I didn't like about Arkham Knight. Now the thing that pissed me off the most, I know this is going to sound weird because I already talked about how great the gameplay mechanics and combat system is, but it was the targeting system. I mean, I know I share this frustration with others because I've heard other people talk about it and I've talked about it with some of my friends, but it's those instances when you go to attack a specific enemy and Batman decides to go after someone else. And this just kind of kept happening, and I wasn't quite sure if I was doing something wrong or if the game mechanics were screwed up or what, but, you know, I would go to, you know, I'd be pressing the analog stick towards a specific enemy, I'd go to attack that enemy, and Batman would punch the guy beside him or something like that. And it was just kind of frustrating because when you're in the heat of the moment, you're trying to build up your hit streak, something like that can just ruin everything and turn a great fight into a shitty fight. My memory isn't the greatest, but I really don't remember that being an issue in the older Batman games, but it was something that pissed me off quite a bit in this game. I think it's a minor thing though, just to put that out there. Other than that though, the only other thing that I really didn't like about this game was the boss fights, because every single one of them was ridiculously way too easy, and most of them were beaten in a matter of seconds on the first try. And I mean, I remember back to some of the boss fights in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City with the Titans and Two-Face and the fight with Mr. Freeze, where you actually had to adapt some sort of strategy to win, and there was an actual degree of difficulty involved. But with Arkham Knight, all of these bosses were just way too easy, and that was just pretty disappointing for me, because I like a good boss fight. I mean, fighting Scarecrow in the Nightmare missions, if you got the DLC pack, those were probably the best as far as boss battles go. But you know, I really can't count them for this review since they're not really even part of the actual game itself. Other than that though, I really have no gripes with this game. I mean, slightly faulty fighting mechanics and lame boss battles, that's about all I have to say bad about it. So Arkham Knight is not a perfect game, but I would say it's a perfect ending to this epic trilogy. And I say trilogy because Rocksteady didn't develop Origins, and they tend to not like including it in the series. So based on like Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight, that's the trilogy right there. This was a great ending. They stuck with most of the things that worked from the previous games, and they managed to add several new things that also worked very well. They had a great plot, strong narrative, with mostly top-notch voice acting. I would definitely recommend this to anyone who's into a solid single-player experience. Whether you played the other Arkham games or not, it really doesn't matter. You can get into this and play it. You don't have to know the story of the other ones. Otherwise, I mean, it would be better if you knew the other stories. You know, it is a continuation, but you really don't need to. So my final score for this game is going to be an 8 out of 10. I basically deducted points for the occasional frustrating fight mechanics and the disappointingly easy boss fights, but other than that, Arkham Knight is a solid and well-rounded game. So that's going to be it for my review. If you enjoyed it, I would appreciate if you smash that like button, and thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned on my channel for my upcoming review of Journey, as well as just much more content to come. We got lots of stuff coming, guys. I'm Vile Self. Until next time, villains. Later.